Andrew Loog Oldham is an English record producer, talent manager, impresario and author. He was manager and producer of the Rolling Stones from 1963 to 1967, and was noted for his flamboyant style. Early life: Oldham's father, Andrew Loog, was a United States Army Air Forces lieutenant of Dutch descent who served with the 8th Air Force. Loog was killed in June 1943 when his B-17 bomber was shot down over the English Channel. He was buried at the Ardennes American Cemetery and Memorial in Belgium. Oldham's Australian mother, with maiden name Oldham, was a nurse and comptometer operator. Oldham attended the Aylesbury School for Boys, Cokethorpe School in Oxfordshire, St Marylebone Grammar School and Wellingborough School in Northamptonshire. A self-proclaimed hustler who spent teenage summers swindling tourists in French towns, Oldham's interest in the pop culture of the 1960s and the Soho coffeehouse scene led to working for Carnaby Street mod designer John Stephen and later as an assistant to then emerging fashion designer Mary Quant. Early career: Oldham became a publicist for British and American musicians and for producer Joe Meek. Among his projects was stints publicising Bob Dylan on his first UK visit and the Beatles for Brian Epstein in early 1963. In April 1963, a journalist friend recommended that he see a young R&B band called the Rolling Stones. Oldham saw potential in the group being positioned as an anti-Beatles, a rougher group compared to the cuddly mop-top image of the Beatles at that time. Oldham, still a teenager, rapidly acquired a seasoned business partner and took over management of the Stones, who had been informally represented by Giorgio Gomelsky. Oldham had previously been business partners with Peter Midden, first manager of The Who, but they had fallen out. Oldham signed recording rights to the Stones to Decca, targeting A&R head Dick Rowe, who had earlier declined to sign the Beatles. Among strategies devised and executed by Oldham to propel the group to success, firing or demoting Ian Stewart from on-stage keyboard player in May 1963 to studio-only play. This was to keep their public appearance as a five-man group of slender young men. Oldham said that 6 was too many and Stewart was 5 years older, stockier with a square jaw. To Stewart's credit, he stayed on as the road manager and continued to contribute keyboard parts to the band's recordings, and remained an influence. Retaining ownership of the group's master tapes, which were then leased to Decca, an idea learned from Phil Spector, that allowed greater artistic freedom and financial rewards than a standard recording contract. Bringing John Lennon and Paul McCartney to the recording studio, which led to their song I Wanna Be Your Man becoming the Rolling Stones' second single. Encouraging Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, of the Rolling Stones, to start writing their own songs. And promoting a bad boy image for the Rolling Stones in contrast to the Beatles. Oldham generated widely reprinted headlines like "Would You Let Your Daughter Marry a Rolling Stone?" and provocative album cover notes such as a satirical incitement to fans to mug a blind beggar for funds to buy the album. Oldham produced all Rolling Stones recordings from 1963 until late 1967 despite having no previous experience as a producer. According to the Rolling Stones website, accounts regarding the value of his musical input to the Stones recordings vary, from negligible to absolute zero. Though lacking technical expertise in the studio, it is thought that Oldham was good at seeing the big picture of the Rolling Stones' image and sound. He discovered Marianne Faithfull at a party, giving her Jagger and Richards as Tears Go By to record. He also developed other studio talent with his Andrew Oldham Orchestra, in which Rolling Stones as well as London session players recorded pop covers and instrumentals. As his success increased, Oldham thrived on a reputation as a garrulous, androgynous gangster who wore makeup and sunglasses and relied on his bodyguard Reg to threaten rivals. During this period, Oldham took advertising space in the Melody Maker to unfavorably compare Cilla Black's version of You've Lost That Love and Feeling with the competing original by the Righteous Brothers. Oldham sold his share of the Rolling Stones management to Alan Klein in 1966, but continued in his role as the band's de facto manager and producer until late 1967. Relations with the group were strained by Oldham's drug use and legal problems that the band was facing in 1967. After Oldham's departure, his relationship with the Rolling Stones was strained for several years. In 1965, Oldham set up Immediate Records, among the first independent labels in the UK. Among the artists that he signed and or produced or guided were P. Arnold, Chris Farlowe, The Small Faces, John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, Rod Stewart, The Nice, Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, Amen Corner, The McCoys, The Strangeloves and Duncan Brown. With Arthur Greenslade he was credited as the co-writer of Headlines, the B-side of Ride On Baby, by Chris Farlowe, which was released in October 1966. Oldham also helped Derek Taylor publicize the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds album by publishing advertisements praising the album. He enlisted songwriter Billy Nicholls to record a British response, the album Would You Believe? After the Small Faces disbanded in 1969, he put together Humble Pie, featuring Steve Marriott and Peter Frampton. In the 1970s and 1980s, Oldham worked primarily in the United States. He produced Donovan and other artists. In the mid-1980s, he made Columbia his primary residence after marrying Esther Farfan, a Colombian model. There he became a mentor for local bands. Bittersweet Symphony, a recording by the Andrew Oldham Orchestra, was rediscovered in the 1990s when the Verve used a string loop based on the orchestral arrangement of The Last Time in their song Bittersweet Symphony. In the ensuing court battle, songwriting royalties for the Verve track were awarded to Klein's ABKCO Records, the owner of the copyright for The Last Time. Later career, Oldham co-wrote a biography of ABBA in the 1990s and 3 autobiographies, Stoned, Too Stoned, and Rolling Stoned, in which he and other music figures recount his days as a manager, producer, and impresario. He was inducted into Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2014. In 2005, Oldham thanked the drug rehab organization Narconon for saving his life from his cocaine addiction. That same year, he was recruited by Steven Van Zandt to host a radio show on Van Zandt's Underground Garage radio channel heard in North America on Sirius Satellite Radio. Oldham has a 3-hour show on weekdays and a 4-hour weekend show. Since 2006, he has worked with the Argentine musician Charlie Garcia. In 2008, he worked on the production of Los Ratones Paranoicos' new album. In 2008, he produced and arranged Canadian singer Wickham Portis's album 3 AM and has been managing and working with the Colombian pop artist Juan Galino. In 2014, Oldham overheard Canadian artist car copyright Amy Dorval singing backup on a friend's track he was helping to produce, and he subsequently signed her to his label. In September 2014, Oldham's label released Dorval's second studio EP, Volume 1. She was also given 2 covers to sing on his recently released album consisting of Rolling Stones songs entitled Andrew Oldham Orchestra and Friends Play the Rolling Stones Songbook Volume 1. Dorval sang As the Tears Go By, and Under My Thumb. Andrew's Blues, the song Andrew's Blues, sung by the Rolling Stones and appearing on the Black Box Collection CD1, is a humorous if scathing evocation of Oldham. References. External links, official website, review of the Rolling Stones Songbook, Small Faces, Immediate, lyrics of Andrew's Blues.